Now, I think Boris Johnson, whether you hate him or love him, is very persuasive, incredibly persuasive, as is Donald Trump, even if you hate him. And it doesn't matter which way you feel about it for purposes of our conversation. But for Boris Johnson, do you notice people like him who are very good at persuasion and notice what they're doing? Is there anything in particular that you think he does well in terms of persuasion?
Yeah, there are several things. I think there's a bit of a difference, particularly when we look at politicians, because there's already an inherent prejudice, I think, when somebody is a politician. Particularly because it's very rare for us to see a politician on television without a party name attached to them or without a point of view attached to them. So I think for many of us, it's quite hard to view a politician dispassionately. It's very, very different to a business owner standing up that we've never heard of before. We've got much more opportunity there actually to be persuasive. Having said that, as that caveat, Boris Johnson or Alexander de Pepple, Boris Johnson, as he should be known, or Alexander Boris de Pepple Johnson, has quite a rare gift, which is that when he stands up and starts speaking, people start smiling. Yeah. And it's a very disarming thing, and I think that's something you can't teach probably, and it's just a gift someone has or they don't have it. Very famously, people like Tommy Cooper had it. The minute there are some people that in showbiz we say they have funny bones. Wow. The minute they appear, people just start smiling and relaxing. So he has that gift, and that's very useful in terms of being persuasive. He does. I think it's a cultural thing as well. I think there are different cultural things. So there is a quirk of the British and perhaps particularly English mindset, which is that a certain type of slightly disheveled, shambolic ex-public schoolboy just has an automatic amount of status. But if we take it away from cultural attachments, authority and status tend to be very persuasive. So if somebody has, for example, if a business person is introduced, so let's take it out of politics. Let's say Richard Branson is automatically a persuasive person until he takes that away himself, because he's got status, he's got authority in the world. The head of NASA is persuasive to a large extent, or automatically. So authority and status are very persuasive. So Johnson has that. And lastly, he does have a gift. Perhaps not. I think what we've seen recently is perhaps not as great as he or I might have thought until he's challenged, but he does have a gift for summing things up in quite visual ways and quite pithy, tweetable statements, for better or for worse. So he does have that gift of rhetoric, which some of his opponents don't have. They don't have gift for easily. So that's something I should have mentioned earlier, actually, which is things that are easy to understand are easy to believe, but they're also very easy to repeat and to remember, and that tends to be a key part of being persuasive. All great advertising campaigns are built around that, for example. The
genius phrase of the Leave campaign, as illustrated in that drama documentary about Dominic Cummings, is the "take back control" phrase, which was, as a piece of marketing, personally, I'm not a fan of a Leave campaign, but that doesn't matter. In terms of marketing, it was a stroke of absolute genius. So it's so simple, and people get what it means. And so I am fascinated by this whole world of politics, because it's very dramatic at the moment, both in the UK and the US. Are you familiar with Keith Johnson's sort of high status, low status concept? And so
I studied with Keith Johnston in the 90s when he came over from Canada. Yes, I did.
Wow. Is he still alive?
I'm a fan of his work. No, I don't think he is still alive. He was quite old when I met him, so I'd be very surprised.
Right. So Keith Johnson's the person who wrote the classic book Improv, and it's fascinating. Even if you don't want to do improv or comedy improv, it's just a fascinating book. And the first section, I think, is about status and the idea that we all naturally play a status level where we come across as, there's a little bit of like, you carry yourself like you're superior or you carry yourself like you're inferior. And there are advantages at times to being one or the other, but we all naturally play a certain status. And so, but Boris is a bit difficult to fit into that, isn't it? Because, like you say, he comes with the status of being an Eton schoolboy and obviously being the Prime Minister as of today, and who knows about tomorrow. And So we know all of that, and we know his history, but also he plays. Otherwise, he seems to play low status, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, he combines the two, and what he does is very clever, either accidentally or as I suspect by design. Which the thing, I think it's partly a cultural thing in Britain. You know, there's that famous thing, we sort of love the underdog.
Yeah.
And I think he knows he already has that status. It's there. It's inherent. It's he couldn't get rid of it if he tried.
Yeah.
So by deliberately, and I have a couple of friends who worked with him very closely at the when he was the mayor of London, who told fairly hilarious stories about him deliberately messing up his hair just before a TV interview. So weirdly, it's a bit counterintuitive, but by deliberately underplaying that status, he actually enhances it, because it's almost like, I have such status, I don't even need to make any. I don't need to wear the Rolex.